Hey guys, David Villa here.
Mikey Okendo.
Another episode of Auto Dealer Live Podcast is coming your way. We have two incredible dealers on today, and you're going to love this show. So get ready, buckle up, and check it out. We have Mr. Roland Lynn, General Manager of Cooley Nissan in Dallas, one of the top 10 Nissan dealers in the state. I'm sorry, in the nation. I'm sorry about that. We have Mark Lowe, General Manager of Don Franklin, Somerset Kia, 250 car store. A couple of hammers on the phone. Looking forward to talking to you guys. I'm going to jump right into this with you, Roland. We've known each other for a while. One of the best car guys I know. I haven't had the privilege to ever interview on Auto Dealer Live, so I'm excited about this. And so here's what I want to throw right out there. So you're an aggressive dealer. You guys, obviously, just like every other dealer in the nation, the last couple of years, it's just been a roller coaster up and down. But based on recent conversations, we're hearing dealers want to just get traffic in the store and try to convert them. And I want to find out your philosophy on that. Are you bogged down in the data as much, or are you saying, hey, get me some customers in front of me because this is the car business and I want to sell a car? I know that's a hot question to throw out there, Roland, but I know you can handle it. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think you have to have a measured approach both ways. If you're just driving a bunch of traffic, but they can't buy anything, or they can't afford the price point that you currently have in stock, then that's wasted dollars. It's just, you're pissing in the wind, if you don't mind me being a little vulgar.
That's not good. Whenever you piss in the wind, you get wet, and
especially if you're into the wind, that's even worse.
Yeah, right.
No, I think it's got to be a measured approach both ways. You do want to get a little granular. I find that that's why I really love doing business with IPD. Some of the other mailing companies I won't name by name because they're your competitors, and I don't want to upset you, David. And I'm pushing one of the major pre-approved mail companies with a massive bank, one of the largest in the United States. We won't name it, but we probably all know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Pushing them to allow at least a couple of things like exclusionary zones of zip codes. So for instance, I'm in South Dallas, and I'm a massive dealer, but there's a zip code directly to my north that only 25%, if I go off S3 data, only 25% of them can buy a car. I don't need to be playing in that sandbox. That's throwing away money. So if a PA event with IPD or one of your competitors is $20,000 for a 2-week event, a big event, because I'm a big store, I don't need a quarter of those dollars going into a zip code where they can't afford to buy a car. The S3 data says that the per capita income per household is less than $25,000 a year. And with these interest rates and these values of cars, they can't buy a car. So it's got to be a balance of, yes, I do want traffic, and I don't want to get so granular that I'm not going to get a result. And then I come to you, the provider, David, and saying, hey, you didn't give me an opportunity to sell cars. We didn't get enough traffic. But then also making sure that I'm driving the right traffic that can afford a car, that is giving me a fighting chance that when they get here, A, they can afford what I'm selling, and B, I've set myself the highest likelihood of success. So that was a really long answer, but
no, that's good.
No, it's good one.
I hope it was a good one.
It was.
Now, what about you, Mark? What is your perspective on this? Because I know this is going to be probably different for different markets. It's depending on your metro area, how many people are there, what the incomes are, job opportunities, savings, and negative equity and all that kind of good stuff, right? So for your customer base. So what is your perspective on this? Is it similar? Or you got a different angle? What do you think?
It's very similar. Before Dustin and I started back with IPD here, I was using some companies and doing more saturation stuff, which was maybe putting a bunch of enthusiasm out there. Hey, we got 40 appointments coming in today. But, if you got a bunch of people coming in that can't buy, then your salespeople are tired down and get a bad attitude maybe. So, having a more targeted spin, is a lot smarter with what's going on nowadays.
Yeah, it is. And so let me shift it. And I appreciate both of you guys, mentioning us, and we appreciate the partnerships. But with regards to that, so one of the things, and I'll go to you first, Mark, and then I know Roland, I know you have a comment on this as well, because this is just the reality of the dealer world right now. But with the shift in markets, and again, I equate it to a roller coaster. I mean, and the reality is it's a roller coaster you've never been on in the last 3 years, because it's been up and down, sideways, and you never know which way it's going to go. But you guys, have done a really good job navigating it, and not everybody has. But with the shifts in market, Mark, what can you do to keep your team? Because it's really about your team, right? From taking the path of least resistance. We've heard from multiple dealers that we've interviewed over the last few weeks on our show. All of them have brought up some aspect of, hey, we were order takers for a period of time. I mean, let's just face it, we were just in car sales. We had cars, people wanted to buy them, but now we're back to selling cars again. So with the shift in the market, what can you do to keep your team from taking the path of least resistance when it comes to selling a car? Mark, I'll go to you first on that.
Training is more important than ever. I'm just really glad that we continue to train during the crazy, everybody making $6,000 a copy and everything. We continue to train, but it's been a challenge. Our sales meeting today was about selling the product and doing a product presentation, because I've even got a guy that sells 40 a month that, he just keeps handing people keys and going, here you go, drive it and come back. You're just missing opportunities there, but it's more important than ever to sell the car, because now they're shopping. Now people have cars. So I just think training is one of the best things you can do right now to try to stay on top of it.
Yeah. And it's almost like retraining, right, Roland? I mean, it's.
Yeah. You definitely have to be fluid. The new car demand is waning, supply is rising. And so these guys had it really easy for 2 years where they didn't have to be good. They just, here's the car, you got to pay $3,000 over sticker, or I'm going to sell it to the next person. Mm-hmm. Now they have to, if they entered into this business over the past 2.5 years, we've almost done them a disservice, because they don't know what the business is really like, having to establish rapport, build trust, make a friend, actually do a guest sheet and figure out a needs assessment where they're with on their current car, go out and do a real walk around, really showing features and benefits and building value in not only the car, but themselves as a automotive professional that knows all the features and benefits and how it can really stand out from what they're currently driving.
Yeah.
And then, when it gets to the pencil, actual negotiation, not this is it, or I'm going to sell it to the person behind you.
Mikey, let me ask you something. Yeah, this is not on our notes here, but I want to bring this up because of the answer, and just made me think about this. I want to ask, maybe we can shift it to these guys, but we've talked to dealers that have had to get to the place where they've had to replace some folks. They've come to the place where some of the people have not been able to get back into the swing of things, and so there's dealers that ask, hey, what do I do? Do I keep this person? Or is there a point in time when I might have to part ways, and bring in some fresh blood, so to speak? And I know that we've run into that question, and there's a lot of that dilemma where there's dealers that are afraid to pull the trigger, for lack of a better term, on that. We've run into that. We've heard that, and that's been. And I'm kind of interested to see what these guys say about that.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because I mean, there's people that were brought in, and they were brought in maybe during that time period of order taking. They're not used to this new market, or I should say what the normal market is, I guess you could say. And they were used to doing the order taking. Now we're dealing with a situation where things have shifted, and like we were just talking about, you've got people with negative equity, you've got people with maybe a lack of down payment or not enough of a down payment, or they're trying to figure out how to. There's a lot of moving parts. They're having to move stuff around, and like you said, we're working a deal, and they're wanting more for their trade. The value is maybe not where they think it is.
Does there come a time, Mark, where have you had to face this yet? Does there come a time where you have to maybe pull the trigger and part ways with somebody? Is that sometimes the best move? And should a dealer be afraid to do that? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, they say the worst thing you can do with a bad employee is keep them. So yeah, I've had to let a couple go in the last year that just, wouldn't get on the program and had to go.
Yeah. How about you, Roland?
So I have found that most of them are realizing, okay, this is real. I've got to really work for a living now. The vast majority have found a little hitch in their giddy up, found another gear, and are back to actually having to work to sell cars. And I've found that the bad apples, the ones that you're talking about, that went from making $10 or $12 or $15,000, not having to be that good, to making nothing, typically bow out themselves. They think there are greener pastures elsewhere. And we've had a couple of them come back because we are a massive volume store. They think, they're told a dream somewhere else. And we've had a couple of them come back. We spent a lot of time training them. I spent a lot of effort grooming these guys to be successful. So I am probably a little different than Mark in that I'm as long as they're covering their 8 to 10, 12 cars, I'm going to hold on to them. And what I found is typically if they're not producing, they're not making the kind of money they need to make, but they take care of themselves.
That's a good point. Now, you mentioned they're selling volume too, and I know that's something we've heard a lot of dealers say in the past couple episodes as well, is they're focusing on volume, they're focusing on moving things, turning things quickly. Is that something you guys are focused on as well? And if so, I mean, are there any specific things you're finding working really well? Used car strategies, pricing, anything that you've found in your market that's really effective in dealing with your customers?
So 2 things come to mind. I just came back from a 20 group in Sea Island, Georgia, with NCM. I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And there was much crying and gnashing of teeth, David, about guys that, are only getting 30, 40, 50 new cars a month from Nissan. I can promise you, Michael, to answer your question, these are the same guys that if it wasn't making $6,000 on the front a few months ago, they didn't do the deal. Yeah. We're getting 250 to 270 new Nissans because I'm turning and burning. I'm not married to any of these cars. If it's making a little bit of money, we're doing the deal so that we can turn it, earn another one. Here we go.
That's good.
And I think it's paid massive dividends for us when everybody else let their day supply rise, let their inventory atrophy because they were being greedy, going for all the gross. And now that's one of the reasons that we were bottom top 10, and now we're closer to mid top 5 in the United States.
That's strong, and I love that. So, Mark, going back to you, because you guys are doing pretty good volume as well. Did you play the inventory game? Did you do it right? Did you do some things that maybe some of your counterparts didn't do over the last couple of years? And now you're seeing the dividends pay off on that as far as strategy on inventory.
Yeah, we kind of had the same philosophy. We were selling over MSRP. We're still attempting to sell over MSRP, but we're going to take the deal. We got one dealer in Jake Sweeney in Florence, Kentucky, that they sold at MSRP when everybody else was selling over, and they're the only dealer in Kentucky that's beat me the last couple of years. So as long as I can come in number 2 behind them, I feel pretty good about the volume, but, we'll take a year ago, we take a deal making $500 on a new Rio, if that's all we could get the customer to pay, because, again, you're being rewarded back with inventory. I still got dealers calling me crying the blues. Hey, why can't we get cars? Why can't we get cars?
You know what's cool about that? When I hear that too, and see what you guys think as well, Roland and Mark, but I almost hear that as a little bit of a recruiting strategy too. I mean, you want to work, this is just me, you would want to work for a dealer that is moving units, that, basically that's giving you opportunities as a salesperson, that's giving you new, fresh inventory that you can, connect with potential buyers on. And that to me would be a really cool way to say, like, hey, as a dealer, you guys are also making it easier to bring in some new talent if you do need to replace somebody, like we were talking about earlier, because you're focusing on that movement, which is giving them the opportunity for the volume, giving them the opportunity to, hey, if I can't connect with this customer on a vehicle, but guess what? There's a new one coming in, and now I can connect with them. And for people who aren't moving units, that's a tough thing. That's a tough sell to somebody. That I would want to be a part of a dealership that is moving forward like that. So that's actually pretty cool from that perspective too.
I totally agree with that. So with that, Roland, recruiting wise, I know you and I have spoke before a little bit, and you've always had a pretty good strategy when it came to recruiting. Are you finding, that helps you with recruiting? In other words, the car business is no longer one of these things where you got to, fish from your own pond, so to speak. There's people that are uproot and move to be part of a store that's moving. When it comes to recruiting, when it comes to these dealers out there that are looking for, good talent, what's your strategy when it comes to that? Are you recruiting pretty heavily?
So we were last year and the year before paying headhunters, paying this local gentleman that comes in and does a hiring class for you, and then a 3-day training class. And what we found most recently is that, using that banner of number one in Texas brings us a lot of talent that has sold cars before. And then separately, doing our own grassroots, just spending a little bit of money on Indeed, a little $200, $300, $400 spend, which is nothing versus paying a third party, and having being open about it, posting the bonus structure, posting the pay plan. We can't keep up with the applicants. Now, when you get them here, obviously we don't, it's weeding through the shaft to find the wheat, but we can't keep up with the applicants. I think we ran something on yesterday, and we already had 230 applicants.
My goodness!
On a $210 spend. Wow,
man, we have a couple more minutes here. I want to get some closing remarks on this, because it'll be different. But Mark, technically, you're really not supposed to be number 2 in the state. If somebody looked at just the market and just looked at where you are, they go, that this is not where I would pick to be the number 2 location. So, what do you, if you can kind of pinpoint a couple things, why do you feel like that you guys are number 2? Why do you feel like that you're doing such a, that type of volume, in Somerset? Why do you feel like that? What are a couple of things, if you could put them out there, that are some best practices or some reasons why you feel like that you guys are where you are? Somebody's listening right now, some dealers in other states, and they're going, you know what, I'm in that similar type of market, and it gives me hope that I can actually make some moves like that. Is there a couple of things that you can throw out that come to mind?
Well, Somerset, Kentucky is less than 20,000 people, so
wow,
we have to reach and grab and pull from a 50-mile radius any way we can to, sell what we sell. But a lot of it is I'm doing several different programs targeting bankruptcies. Nobody around is doing bankruptcies, so if you're not going after bankruptcies right now, you're missing out on a ton of business. You got a Revo you pay them a fee and they'll get the trustee letter on a Chapter 13. So just several different direct mail strategies. Hit this area, let this area rest, go after bankruptcies, just stay on top of it.
Interesting. So is that how you're kind of helping with negative equity? You get the customers, you can't flip them, you can't do the deal. You've got those kind of strategies to appeal to them?
Well, I mean, like, you know, a Revo will do 135 advance on a used vehicle of a couple of different books. So you can get somebody really upside down even through a subprime or mid-prime lender. So, you know, it's just having the right guys on the desk and the right banks. And
Yeah. The medium income in Somerset's like 17 grand and change. So, I mean, you're doing a bang up job there. And what I hear, you know, and I know you're a humble guy, Mark, and, you know, I've always felt that way about you. But, you know, look, the leadership team there is spot on. You guys are doing something pretty strong. 20,000, a town of 20,000 to do that. I mean, that's saying a lot. You know, Rowland, you know, and somebody would say, okay, yeah, he's in Dallas. Okay. So, okay, he's a high volume dealer. He's in a high volume city. But here's the thing that they leave out when it comes to that. There's a lot of dealers in Dallas, and there's a lot of competition in Dallas. And I know a lot of dealers in your region, Nissan and other makes, are certainly not doing the volume that you're doing. So, you know, you've got a lot of competition there. So what are a couple things that come to mind? And I know, again, you're a humble guy. I mean, you really are. But the reality is, I'll say it. You're killing it. Can you give a couple of things that might come to mind that somebody might say, hey, you know, these are some reasons why you guys are number one in Texas?
You gotta be on the cutting edge, man. You know, our industry is changing so fast. Be open to take calls, take emails, take Zoom meetings from vendors you've never heard of. Be open to partnerships. Test pilot. I'm on 3 different test pilots with banks.
Wow.
With a major bank that has a portal for dealers that they use every day. You know, I can't, trying to tiptoe around the tulips here. You know, I'm on like 3 different beta or testing programs right now that are on the cutting edge of where they see our business going. So don't be afraid to try things. Don't spend a ton of money doing it. You know, Shakespeare said, don't dull your palm with each unfledged comrade. So you shouldn't have to work really hard for somebody you don't have a relationship with, but don't be afraid to try it either. You should, you know, a brand new vendor that is unproven to you shouldn't pay a bunch of money for an unproven product, but don't be afraid to try it. Be on the cutting edge, be open to changes and dynamics in the industry, because it's changing at light speed. And if you're not open to the change, you're going to get left behind.
Well said. Well, gentlemen, thank you both for joining us, and congratulations on what both of you are doing in your markets. You're definitely leading in many ways, and so I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing some of the things you're doing. And I know that there's probably a lot of notes being taken by dealers listening, and I really do appreciate you sharing. Mikey, man, it goes without being said. I mean, we got the number 1 Nissan store in the state of Texas. You have a 250 car Kia store, number 2 in the state, in a town of 20,000 with a $17,000 medium income. And, I'll say it for them. The leadership there, both stores are one of the big reasons. But what leaders do that are effective is they put together teams that are effective. And you heard them. You heard Roland just now. Don't be afraid to try something. So what I hear again in this industry, and this goes it just goes across the board. Regardless of what the market is, that just look at the roller coaster. It's either the bottom, the middle, or the upswing, right? And wherever it is, you've got to adapt and you got to be flexible. And when you are, you're going to find the business. And that's what I think our listeners need to take away from this.
I think so too. And the creativity, the flexibility. I mean, look, we know Roland's creative. He threw in a Shakespeare quote. That was a first on the show. We've never had Shakespeare brought up before, but he managed to pull it in. And, there's creativity there and definitely leadership. So I'm impressed, and I like what we hear. I think a lot of people are going to be taking notes as well. And if not, definitely should, because these guys, they got it going on.
Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Auto Dealer Live, and we will be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. We've got some really good episodes coming up, as always. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, make sure you reach out to us, and we'll put the information on the screen, and you can reach out to our producer. We'd love to have you on if you feel like you have something to offer to our listeners. And Mikey, so if they want to be notified on how to receive episodes and where to go, what do they need to do?
That's right. You need to like, subscribe, and hit the bell on the YouTube channel. That way you're notified whenever there's new content that drops.
Hey, thank you guys for checking it out. See you next time. Auto Dealer Live.